Behind every strange tale is a life no one truly told. We don't tell ghost stories to scare you. We tell them so you'll hear what few dare to hear. Follow the channel. The hidden truth is just beginning. Episode 1: The Spine Collector. If someone tells you that death is the end, they've never been buried alive in a dark cellar with their eyes still open. I don't know exactly how long I've been dead. All I know is when they found my body, my flesh had fused to the cold wooden floor and my spine was gone. I used to be Clara, the waitress at the only coffee shop in town. Everyone called me by the nickname Little Clar. I liked that name. It sounded like someone who was always loved. But him, he never called me that. To him, I was just a specimen. I'm still here in the cold, dark cellar, buried beneath the ground, far from the nearest house where light never reaches, and where I, along with so many other souls, still haven't moved on. We're waiting, not to be saved, but to tell someone. This town once harbored a demon, and it wore human clothes. The officer, who never smiled, Max, was the only one who ever came close to where we were kept. I still remember the last time I saw him when I served coffee at the shop. He always sat at the same table by the window, wore a gray jacket, and read old newspapers. He wasn't the charming or heroic kind of cop, but there was something about Max. He listened. The way he talked to old Mrs. Perkins. The way he drove around looking for Christopher. It made me believe he was the kind of person who didn't leave people behind. But Max didn't know that every step he took, someone was watching. He knew Max would follow the clues, and he had already prepared for it. The smell of blood in the abandoned farm. He once brought me through that house, where the wooden walls rotted and the windows had no glass. I was blindfolded, but I still remember the musty, metallic scent, the smell of blood from those before me. I heard chains rattle, bones crack whenever he examined his new specimen, and his whisper every night, "You're pretty, but your spine's crooked. Let me fix it for you." Dear God, he didn't kill us right away. He kept us alive, hungry, freezing, and hopeless, like antique goods that needed to ferment before display. When Christopher ran back, but no one knew what he brought with him. Christopher was the only one who escaped, but he never escaped the memory. I saw him crawling out of the woods, body scraped, eyes wide and white. He spoke about the collector, the one who kidnapped, caged, then killed 4 bones. The police thought he was delusional, but that night, as Chris slept in the hospital, I saw him standing outside the window. He didn't come to reclaim his victim, he came to add one more to the list The cellar, the living, could never find. But the dead have never left. He didn't dig deep to hide. He dug deep because we had to be buried in a place where no light would ever reach. The cellar was just meters beneath the surface, but far enough that no scream could escape. Moss-covered walls, blood-soaked floor, and skeletons hung in perfect rows. I was the only one whose flesh was still intact when Max stepped in. He didn't recognize me, and I couldn't scream to tell him. He's still here. The one who never smiled, but always smirked when captured. He was just a middle-aged man. A face so plain you could pass him at the market and forget him instantly when they arrested him. He didn't resist, just looked at Max and smiled, as if everything was only just beginning. How many do you think you can save? He once told me, when my bones are already inside every home in this town. Spines never lie. When the police searched his house, they found a small, glass-lined room. Inside were hundreds of spine segments, numbered, labeled. My spine was there. Clara's, Angus's, the children who never had a birthday. He didn't just kill, he displayed. He didn't just collect. He documented. I will not move on, because if I leave, who will be left to tell the next person? Never trust the peace of a small town, because the most terrifying killer is often the neighbor you never said hello to. He's still alive, but I am not. And this story is the last thing I can leave. For the living, asterisk, the unlocked dew or dried blood can't hide its smell. I knew Max would come back that day. When Edward called him and told him to go to the old farm, I was already standing on the rotten rooftop, not to scare, but to lead the way. There's not much I can do in my current form. Wind passes through me as if I don't exist, but the smell of blood can't lie. He killed someone right on the mezzanine of that house, then dragged the body down into the cellar behind the stable. But he left a mark, a long streak, dark red like rust, that the wind couldn't erase. When Max stepped in, Edward's flashlight swept across that exact spot. I saw them shiver, and I was glad. The town started to see the cracks. After the night, they found that pool of blood. 3 more people disappeared. An old woman who lived alone, a 16-year-old student, and a girl no one knew by name, only seen occasionally, sweeping the backyard of the roadside motel. No one saw anything. No screams, no signs of forced entry. They just vanished. Max began to lose sleep. He drove around every night, headlights cutting across every forest, every field, every silent window I knew. He was getting close. I stood behind the glass of his house. Max's wife, Irma, was the first to feel something was wrong. One night, while rocking the baby to sleep, she saw a shadow standing in the backyard near the chicken coop. Max came home, rushed out with a flashlight and a gun. He shouted, "Who's there?" But the shadow was gone. I was still there, right behind him, trying to whisper, "It's not me, it's him. He's watching you." But Max only heard the wind. The shadow in the yard was Christopher. Yes, he escaped, but not because he was spared. He was let go because Christopher was a message, like tossing a rat with a chewed tail into a crowd to prove what lurks behind the forest. When Christopher collapsed in the stable behind Max's house, I saw his hands bleeding, nails broken, legs bruised. He trembled as he told Max he still has people down there, still alive. They're still there. Clara's still. I heard my name. I cried. The unlocked door at the abandoned farm. Christopher remembered the way. Max and the team returned to the farm. They tore up the stable floor, pulled apart each rotten plank, and finally discovered ATRAPDOR. It wasn't locked, just held down by a heavy log. He wanted them to enter, wanted to show off his collection. Below was a wooden staircase leading down a dark, damp, foul-smelling path. Walls wet, cracked. Soil soft and stuck with something that felt like rotting flesh. Max led the way. His flashlight passed over chains of hanging objects above. I saw him freeze, and I, Clara, was hanging right in front of him by my own spine, piercing through the fabric of my waitress uniform that still bore my name. Hands with no more blood, still trembling. Max didn't cry, but I knew he was afraid. Not of the corpses, but because some of them were still alive. 3 people were chained to the wall. 1 had died. The other 2 were barely breathing, just like I once was. They were brought up, wrapped in blankets, given oxygen, and called out for their loved ones and me. I could only sit down beside Max and watch him inspect every box, every bone frame. He had a storage system, each person with a label, a case, a note. Female, approx. 25, waitress. Right shoulder bone, misaligned. Code, C06. C06 was me. He was right behind them as they carried people out. As the ambulance sirens screamed, as everyone thought it was over, I saw him. He stood behind the bushes next to the rusty fence, eyes sunken, beard gray, body frail, but his stare still sharp like a surgeon's blade, and he smiled. A smile I'll never forget. Another collection violated, It's okay. I still have my backup room, I screamed. Max turned around, saw nothing. The clattering sounds at the morgue in the middle of the night. After that day, they thought it was all over. The dead were cremated. The living were treated. The killer was locked up. But I'm still here because I saw him enter the hospital. I saw him open the refrigerator at the morgue. I saw him carry knives, a ruler, and a stainless steel tray. And I saw a young nurse who would be the next item. The locked cabinets in the morgue. I heard the clinking of iron locks. No one thought he would be caught that easily. No arguing, no running, no screaming. He just sat still in the police car, hands cuffed behind his back, eyes staring straight into the rearview mirror where Max's face was reflected. He smiled, as if he'd been waiting for the day they'd take him away. And I, Clara, followed him once more, not for revenge. I needed to know where he had hidden my bones. Prison walls aren't thick enough to stop an addiction. He was in solitary confinement, only allowed out 1 hour a day. No phone, no letters, no newspapers, no visitors. But I saw he was still working from inside. His mind, from his trembling fingers, from the whispers he made at night to his own shadow. Female foot bones tend to curve inward. Young adult femurs are denser than the elderly's. Clara's neck bones, slightly misaligned, but still beautiful. I vomited. But I no longer had a stomach. One man got caught. Another did not. Max didn't stop. He dug through every record, asked every elderly person in town, even requested access to old medical files. And then he found what I wanted him to find. Forensic report. 1989 missing person case. Eliza Mayer. Body never found. Suspect used to live near the abandoned farm. Name, Wilfred Cole. Occupation, morgue assistant. Cole was the collector's real name. But there was one more name Max hadn't found. The woman who visited the morgue. Every week, he had a sister. I saw her only once when I was still alive. Long dress, black gloves, and always carrying a canvas bag. I used to think she was strange, but now I know. She was the one who moved the bones. After Cole was arrested, she vanished. No one could find her. Until one night, Max checked the morgue. After the night guard reported, someone's opening the freezer downstairs. The final door, Max and Edward pushed open the basement. That was the temporary storage room for unidentified bodies. But there was one cabinet that was locked, and no one had the key. They called in a locksmith inside. There were no corpses, just a stash of dry bones, bleached, polished, sorted into individual bags with handwritten names: Clar, Angus, Leo, Ava. Max began to tremble. Leo and Ava were the names of his children. Max's house. Midnight. No sound of children. He rushed home. Irma was lying on the floor. No blood, no wounds. But her face was pale. Her hand still holding the family photo. Leo and Ava weren't there. They weren't anywhere. I looked down the steps, saw muddy footprints, small and wet, leading from the bedroom to the back door. And I saw her, his sister, standing at the edge of the yard, carrying a canvas bag so large her back was bent beneath its weight. The town was never safe. It was only pacified. The story was buried. Max resigned. No one knew why. The newspapers never mentioned the collector again. No one asked about the sister. The house he used to live in was burned down by a stranger. Police didn't investigate, and just like that, they kept living in a town with no name and no memory. My bones still haven't been buried. I, Angus, Eliza, and many others are still being categorized by size, gender, curve, and thickness, because someone is still collecting, not to kill, but to preserve the last beauty humans have after the soul is gone. You call it sick, but to the collector, it is art, and I, Clara, no longer need light to see. I only need you to listen, because who knows? As you read these lines, someone might be measuring your spine to see which shelf in their cellar you would fit on. Episode 2. He didn't leave because he was caught. He left because he had chosen the next one. I used to be a cop, used to. Until the darkness called my name, the exact moment the lights went out in the holding cell. I'm afraid of the dark, and now I'm part of it. Sounds strange, right? A cop afraid of the dark. But do you know what's scarier? Being choked by a madman in the dark, and until your last breath, never seeing his face, only seeing his teeth, smiling. I'm James. Used to be a night officer at a small outpost, where criminals were mostly drunk or petty thieves, until that night when a man walked in, bringing the thing I feared most. Not the darkness, but the silence in the dark. He didn't need to do anything. Just look. The girl called the station. Voice shaking in panic, said her boyfriend was crazy, dangerous, said he wasn't human. We got there. She was trembling in the corner, but the guy was calm in a way that felt wrong. Nearly 2 meters tall, dirty gray shirt, eyes rolled white, no expression. When I told him to raise his hands, he did it, instantly. no words. When I cuffed him, he nodded. No resistance. When I put him in the car, he sat still, watching me through the rear view mirror. Didn't blink. It felt like I wasn't arresting him. More like I was taking him where he wanted to go. Some attacks begin with perfect cooperation. The station only had a few rooms. I led him down the hallway, under flickering yellow lights. It was raining outside. I always carried a flashlight, just in case the power cut out. I didn't know he was waiting for that exact moment. Thunder, lightning, all the lights went out. Everything fell into a thick, solid black. I fumbled for my flashlight. He was gone. Then a hard strike to the back of my head. I collapsed, and the darkness began to choke me. In the dark, he didn't need to see me to know I was dying. I don't know where he learned to fight, but that chokehold came from someone who had done this hundreds of times. He didn't scream, didn't tremble, just squeezed and squeezed until I heard nothing but the blood draining from my brain. I struggled, tried to shout. No one heard, because he had chosen the moment I was most alone. And he knew I was the officer most afraid of the dark. The lights came back, but I had already died a second before. When the flashlights hit, when my team burst in, when they yelled, "Let go," and aimed their guns, he released me very gently, as if he had only been playing. I dropped to the floor, face to the ceiling, mouth open, eyes wide. I was breathing, but my soul had left 1 second earlier. He didn't run, because he didn't need to. They didn't shoot, because he raised his hands like a good prisoner. He followed them into the holding cell, smiling. They called it cooperation. I called it a rehearsal. He wanted to be caught, because he had finished the first selection, and there were many more he hadn't touched yet. I was only the opening act, a weak officer, afraid of the dark, easy prey. The girl, the one who reported him, was not a victim. Later, I heard from the others. The girl, the one who called the cops, visited him often after the incident. She wrote a book, title, "The Darkness in the Man Who Needed No Light." She wasn't afraid of him, wasn't. His lover didn't even know him. She just needed a story, and he needed an audience. He's still in the station cell, but every night a new guard disappears. I didn't leave. My soul still lingers in that room, the one where I was killed in darkness with no one calling my name. The lights still work, but on some nights they go out without warning, and every time that happens, a night guard is called down to check. Some come back shaking, some never come back at all, and I hear him speak from the cell. I don't kill people. I just help them find their deepest fear. The story was never on the news because the dead don't file complaints. They said, I resigned. They said I had trauma. They sent a letter to my family, thanking me for my final service. But no one talked about the girl who wrote the book. No one asked why the station lights flicker every night. And absolutely no one mentioned that he has never once fallen asleep. I am James. If you're on night duty at the station and the lights go out, listen closely to the breathing behind your back. It might be me, Officer James, who never escaped his fear. But if it's not me, if that breath is steady, deep, and dry like the wind, run. Don't look back, because he doesn't kill twice. He only adds more people to the story. Episode 3. I was in the trash bag, but I never left. Sometimes you die too fast to understand why. But I died long enough to know the one who killed me never stopped. That night, I was only half buried. Sorry if I sound harsh. I'm not in one piece. My upper body was in a black plastic bag right side. My left arm, another bag. The rest of me scattered on the dirty floor behind an old gas station near Interstate 2. My name was Sean, 22 years old. I wasn't a bad person, just walked with the wrong one. On the last day of my life, I didn't know I was going to die. Days in advance, he said his name was Felix. At first, just some guy at a bar asked if I had a place to stay. If I needed cash, I did. I was dumb. He didn't mention killing, just said he needed help with something. He'd split the money. Simple. Task: handle 2 bags. Don't open them. Don't ask questions. No blood. An abandoned gas station. No one would expect a body there. We drove out around midnight. Rain, light, but cold. Felix said it was quiet there, easy to bury. I asked, "What's in the bags?" He stared at me for the first time, long and hard. "You." I laughed, but I didn't get it. He was serious. I saw the knife, but not the stab. I bent over to open the trunk. 1 second later, cold steel slid through my back. I dropped. My mouth opened, but no sound came. I looked up, saw him calmly tying his hair back. "Getting ready," he said. "Chopping makes it easier to carry. Cops don't notice the details. I have no soul. I'm just fragments, memories, cut and scattered. After that, it's a blur. But when I opened my eyes, I didn't see eyes. Didn't see a body. Just awareness, floating through trash bags, gas fumes, blood and mud. I saw him drag each bag behind the gas station. Saw him dig, and then I saw it. A police car. It stopped. That officer saved me. But no one knows that he was just on night patrol. Saw a strange, parked car. Came to check. Felix made up a story. Car broke down. Needed help. The cop asked, "What about the other car?" Felix smiled. "Guess someone else broke down too." The officer didn't buy it. Then caught Felix glancing toward the back of the station. If he had turned around 30 seconds later, I'd be under tree marker number 22 by now. I watched him turn his back. Felix reached into his jacket for the knife. I screamed, but no one heard. I was just a whisper, a feeling. But somehow the officer paused. He turned, saw the knife, drew his gun. Drop it. Felix let it fall and smiled, hands raised, like a dancer taking his final bow. I was still in the trunk, but now someone knew who I was. After arresting him, the cop searched the trunk. Trash bags. The stench made paramedics throw up. One bag had my face. I saw my reflection in the flashlight. I wanted to say, "Thank you," but I only floated. Silent, they caught him, but not the other one. You thought Felix acted alone. Was another, the one who drove us there, who stopped short of the station. Let Felix drive the rest. I never saw his face, just heard his voice at the start. Make it clean, no bones left. Cops only know how to find bones. The police later wrote, "Lone killer, I get it." No evidence of a second man. No cameras, no witnesses. Felix said nothing. No plea. No lawyer. Just one question. What's that cop's name? I'm Sean. I don't want to be buried. I want to be told I haven't passed on. My body was reassembled, named, laid in a small cemetery outside the city, but I still drift behind that gas station. Every night with fog, every night trucks stop to rest, every night someone opens the back door to pee or smoke, and I stand behind them, not to scare, but to wait, to see if one of them was the man who drove that car. If you ever pass the abandoned gas station off Interstate 22 after midnight, don't dump trash on the dirt behind it, because I'm still lying there, listening and remembering every single face. Episode 4, Nitrogen. One heard me scream under the burning table. I used to think cheating was wrong. Now I think surviving after cheating is harder than death. I was the man slumped under the table, the one who never got back up. My name was Neil, the name another man's wife whispered when her husband wasn't around. The name screamed out in a smoky, shattered restaurant. The last name called before chairs collapsed, and one man's rage turned into a fist. I didn't die right away. I just blacked out. They thought I was saved. But no one saw me die in the palm of his hand. The one who didn't carry a gun but carried hatred through every vein. I didn't deserve love, but I didn't deserve death either. She, his wife, once said, "My husband doesn't love me anymore. He loves power, loves control." I foolish thought I was salvation, but I was the perfect excuse for a revenge no one could stop. The restaurant fire wasn't an accident. We picked a table in the corner, out of sight. I still remember the smell of steaming sauce. Wine poured, not quite full, and her soft laughter. Then he appeared, not from the main door, from the bathroom.com, quiet in his hand. A lighter and a small can of gasoline. Before the fire started, he threw the first chair. No one reacted in time. A punch hit my cheek. A crack. A chair shattered. She screamed. The waiter ran. The elderly crawled under tables, and I fell. My head hit the cold tile floor. Blood flowed. I saw the last light, not heaven, but flames climbing the curtains. The police arrived, but I had lost my breath. His name was Jake, the only one who entered when the restaurant was already burning. He saw me, still by the table leg, face purple, blood on my lips. He thought I fainted. He didn't know. I was watching him from another corner of the room because I wasn't lying on the floor anymore. I was standing right behind him, and I tried to whisper, "He's still hiding a knife. He's not done yet." She, the one who cried for me, now cried in fear of him. She sat slumped in the corner, crying and begging. But he didn't look at her. He only looked at the officer, at the gun, and said, "Try putting the gun down. Real men don't need weapons." Jake refused. I saw his eyes clouded, but inside, very clear. He said he'd get out of prison and find her. He was arrested, of course. No weapon, just violence. No one died. That's what they thought. He shouted at her as he was dragged away, "I'll be free, and I'll find you, until your bones crack beneath my hands." Everyone thought it was just a threat. Only I knew it wasn't a threat. It was a promise. I was buried behind a bar. No one came. The news wrote, "Victim unconscious, but survived. Discharged after 3 days." The truth is, my heart stopped in the ambulance. They didn't announce it because it was better for the police, for her, for those who still believe in law. I still sit in that restaurant, smelling the smoke every night. The place shut down. No one dares reopen it. But when someone walks past at night, they hear glass break, screams, the crackle of fire. I try to tell them, don't love someone who belongs to another. Don't believe the police will arrive in time, because sometimes he doesn't come to kill. He comes to teach a lesson. And he is a very patient teacher. He was released 3 years later. I saw him stand in front of our house. No one told me. I went myself. He stood beneath the maple tree, holding fake flowers. His face wasn't angry anymore, just empty dot. She lived alone. Open the door, he said. I came to apologize, I screamed. I rushed forward, but I was just wind brushing past her shoulder. Someone died after that, but not her. 3 days later, police found the neighbor, the old man next door, dead in his bedroom. Head smashed with a blunt object. No cameras, no evidence, just one fingerprint. Unidentified. She moved away, but I followed, because I know he hasn't forgiven yet. Not her, me. I'm Neil. If you're sleeping with someone already married, watch the window behind you. If there's a man standing there, empty eyes, holding flowers, and saying nothing, don't open the door. Don't admit fault. Don't admit fault. Because if he doesn't kill you, I won't be able to help either. Episode 5. Never stitched back together. I used to be a firefighter, but the fire I found in that basement wasn't meant to save people. It was meant to cook them. I used to live in this town, and people used to love me. My name is Frank, 62 years old, retired for 3 years. Lived with my wife Carmen, a small house by the woods, morning walks, afternoon beers, evening news. I had pulled people from burning cars, held children in my arms through flames, told my crew this line more than once. No one dies when I'm on site. I lied. The afternoon I disappeared. The sun went down quicker than usual. I took a walk into the woods, like always. The same trail, across the shallow creek, to the flat rock where I usually smoked. But that day, there was a knock dot. Not a human one, more like something knocking on metal underground. I got curious. I shouldn't have. I stepped on a wooden plank and fell. A deep pit, wet walls, and the smell of burning. I woke up in darkness. Under me, cold cement. Around me, damp concrete walls and black charred streaks. There was a door, no handle, no light, just a small square above where food slid down each day. I screamed. No one heard. I didn't die right away. Slow death, really. Day 1, I called out for my wife. Day 2, I called out for God. Day 7, I said my own name to remember who I was. His name was Ronald Graham. I heard him mumbling through the wall. Old man's thighs are too tough. Gotta hang him longer to soften. I laughed, thought he was joking. I was wrong. Others, bones stacked in corners. I wasn't alone. This pit had held dozens. Some names were scratched into the wall with fingernails. J.L. 1999. Marie, minus 2003. Help me, please. He's watching. A pile of bones in the corner. Human skull, jawbone, pelvis still had cloth on it. I understood. This wasn't Ransom. He was a hunter. And I was the main course. The cops came late. But they came. I don't know how, but someone found me. The door burst open. Light sliced into my eyes like blades. An officer, Leah, pulled me out. I was skin and bone. Eyes rolled white. Still clutching a torn piece of Carmen's shirt. I whispered, "He's still there. He's not done yet." I lived, but not for long. They said I made it. Hospital bed. People cared. I ate, slept, wept, but I knew my body was done. Liver failed. Heart weak. Lungs swollen. I took my last breath 3 days later. Not because he killed me, but because I had already died the moment I saw his eyes through that slit in the basement wall. I never left that basement. They buried my body behind the church, but my soul still lingers in that pit because I hear new breathing, moans, fingernails clawing the wall. He still has someone, even though he was caught, tried, sentenced. That basement still holds life. Ronald Graham didn't work alone. At the trial, he laughed. No defense, no tears. His lawyer said he was insane. He only said one thing before they took him away. "I'm just the chef, the one who picks the meals. Lives among you." No one understood, but I did. I was once saved from fire. Now I am the fire that never goes out. If you walk into the woods behind town and hear metal knocking, don't follow it. If you dream of a concrete pit with a door that has no handle, wake up or don't ever sleep again. If you see an old man in a charred shirt asking, "Have you seen my Carmen?" say this: she's still waiting for you. Because if you don't. Episode 6. The Curtain with a Bloodstain. I was killed in a room with no cameras, no witnesses, and no one questioned why the curtain in a cheap motel was taken to the laundry in the middle of the night. I died in a cheap roadside motel. Off I-95 South, somewhere in Georgia. My name was Lily Harper. Age, 26. Job, room cleaner. No family, no friends. No one came looking when I disappeared. The room I stayed in was the attic room for C1. No one ever rented because the window was cracked and there was always the sound of dripping water at night. I was only supposed to crash there for 3 nights. On the 3rd night, never left. I remember the smell of bleach, the scent of wet wood, and the metallic temps of my own blood. I woke up at 1:13 a.m. The door creaked open. No footsteps, only the soft swish of the curtain brushing across the floor, like someone had just walked in. Slowly, I sat up and called out, "Who's there?" No answer. I didn't have time to turn on the light. I just heard breathing, close, dry, right behind the curtain. I was strangled with bare hands. Not violently, just firmly, calmly. He didn't use a knife, didn't scream, didn't even rummage. Through my stuff, he climbed onto the bed, placed his hands on my neck like he was gently caressing the life out of me. I screamed. No one heard. I kicked. No one came. He whispered something before I blacked out. "You should have picked a room with darker curtains." He didn't get rid of my body. He cleaned up, then pulled the blanket over me as if I was just sleeping. The next morning, the housekeeper knocked. Nothing seemed out of place. Door locked, lights off, bed untouched. They didn't realize I'd been lying there for almost 14 hours. Blood had soaked into the mattress. The foul smell masked by air freshener until they noticed a faint stain on the curtain. A dry smear of blood. The guy in the next room became the perfect suspect. His name was Derek, 30, 4 years old, just moved in from another state. No one knew him. No cameras saw him leave his room that night. But police found dried blood under his fingernails, a scratch on his neck, and a faint bloodstain on the pants he hand-washed at 2 a.m. They arrested him. He screamed. "I didn't kill anyone. I just heard footsteps." No one believed him, but I did, because I knew he wasn't the one who killed me. I stayed in that room. I could still hear it. The killer never left. He lived in the ceiling, above the bathroom, above the attic, above Derek's room. I'd heard crawling sounds before. I thought they were rats. But no, it was him. The man who lived above, the one who didn't rent a room, didn't have a name. He survives on forgetfulness, on deaths swept under the rug. When Derek was arrested, the case was closed quickly. No one asked why blood was dripping through the ceiling vent. No one climbed up to check the roof. No one wondered why the curtain was taken to the laundry at 3 a.m. without a work order. The motel owner just said, "Probably the staff mixed up the shift," but I knew no one washed that curtain. He took it down to erase himself from the night. Derek went to prison, but he wasn't the only one screaming at night. I followed him into jail. I saw him not sleep. I saw him slice his own hand open, trying to wake up from a nightmare. I saw him whisper to the ceiling, "I know you're still alive. I know you're still crawling above me." People called him crazy. I called it clarity. Room for C is now permanently sealed. But when the wind blows, the curtain still sways. No one dares to rent it anymore. Motel staff say, every night we hear chairs scraping, footsteps walking, and curtains rustling like someone's crawling out of the room. They sealed the air vent, installed cameras, but the footage always glitches at exactly 1:13 a.m. Same time I died. I'm Lily. I didn't move on because I'm still stuck on the stitch that was never finished. He didn't kill for money. He didn't kill for love. He kills to exist in the dark, in the ceiling, behind the curtain. If you ever find yourself in a cheap roadside motel room with an old window, a damp curtain, and a vent that hisses, put a pillow on the bed, pull the curtain down, and sleep under the desk if you want to live till morning.